Hey everyone, welcome back. This is lesson number 8 and no, lesson number 7 in the Maggio technique. Off to a good start. It's been so long I've managed to, before I managed to get this video sorted out. Yeah, out of practice. Well, certainly making videos, hopefully not with me playing trumpet. Um, yeah, I've been a bit of a hiatus. I thought I was going to be moving studio. Turned out I didn't, so what I've just done is I've turned the room around. I have got myself a new computer. This is actually the first video that I'm going to try by using OBS as a recording platform. Usually I would use Cubase to record my audio, and then I would use really just the video camera itself to record all the footage, and then put it together in Movavi and do all my final editing there. I'll still be using Movavi as a video editor. However, hopefully my sound source and everything, because it's already together, I will save some time essentially in editing videos. There's still going to be some editing. This is actually the second version of Lesson 7 that I've recorded. The previous version, for various reasons, was pretty much just unusable. So I decided to give this a go today and we'll see how it goes. So here we go, Lesson 7. Okay, so Lesson 7 is on flexibility. This is maybe one of the first less kind of strength, long note orientated um, lessons or styles of playing that I think in the Maggio technique that starts to look at a wider um, range of motion and certainly more dynamic movement throughout the trumpet register. The little spiel at the top of lesson 7 says number 1, proceed this lesson with warm up C. We've already got that on the channel. Number 2, play soft to moderate volumes without constricting the airstream. So that's pretty much our usual, just try to think about a nice open throat, not blowing too hard, which will obviously create a little bit more pressure. We want to be in control of our sound at all times. We don't want to be scrabbling for notes, etc. Come to that in a wee second. 3, retain forward Maggio pedal embouchure in all registers. This will become apparent, obviously, why this is reinforced or reiterated in these initial 4 points to lesson 7. And suggested metronome speed 60 increase daily. Now, I just mentioned that I did this lesson already. I have been practicing this at around about 75 beats per minute. And let's just say when I was getting into the upper parts of this lesson in the previous video, I certainly wasn't rehearsed enough for it. So I'm going to be doing it around about 65 beats per minute today. And what I'm going to do as well is, if throughout the course of the lesson, because I've not done this today, I've done my warm up and I've done a couple of little exercises to prepare myself. If a lesson or if a section of this lesson doesn't sit correctly, do what we always do, turn the metronome down. We've not got far to go between 65 beats per minute and 60 beats per minute anyway, but in terms of like just giving that little bit more preparatory control when we're thinking about our vowel sounds, etc., and how we approach moving through the registers, then that extra little bit of space and the tempo will just help us prepare that. And that's why we do anything slower to begin with, is so that we can just really start to increase tempos if that's what's desired as we get better at the initial tempo. It's common sense. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to initially play this out of tempo just so we can talk a little bit about these 4 points, more so retaining the forward Maggio embouchure in all registers. The soft to moderate thing, I would say, personally for me, I'm never really blowing hard anyway. It's not about blowing hard to get the sound out. There's definitely a balance in our airstream where there's too little and the sound doesn't speak, too much and we lose control or the sound shuts off, or any other manner of things that can happen when we're really just not being considerate enough in terms of how we use our air. Okie dokie, so the exercise, there's obviously a PDF on the screen. The exercise itself is a descending arpeggio from our bottom C down to our pedal C. and then back up 2 octaves to our third space C, and then back down to our middle C. Now that middle 2 octave arpeggio from our pedal C is repeated. So we do that twice. So a nice full tank of air. I'll do this out of tempo first of all, and then we'll get the metronome going. So this is what we're looking at. And try not to miss a note in the middle. So that's what we're talking about. Now, above, you can see this in the PDF, above the actual line, the whole syllable ta is reiterated. So there's no insinuation that this should be tongued all the way through. I don't see why you can't tongue it all the way through. And certainly you should still be able to practice that open throat feeling. So that's what this might sound like. Initially though, I would say slurred all the way. Well, let's do that again. Yeah, so initially slurred is going to be a lot easier because we're not disrupting the airstream, but it can be tongued. Okay, so what we'll do is I'll get the metronome going, and at 65 beats per minute, and we'll progress through a few of these. I'm going to do the full run of the lesson, so I'm going to record the whole thing, and I'm going to chop in and out of it with the main breakpoints. So we quite quickly transition, obviously, from our ta to our te position, because obviously our highest note just now is C, and then we're going into C sharp, D, all the way up. I'll try and, when I edit the video, make sure that we get all the breakpoints in there. Okie dokie, here we go. So that was section A, or the first part certainly, just up until we get to F sharp, where our regular pedal motif comes back in, breath through the nose, and then we reset. Now, I think the best part, or the most important lesson from the flexibilities part of this lesson, obviously as a flexibilities lesson, is learning to match up our airspeed, our tongue position, trying to think about the forward jaw position, or rather forward embouchure position. I don't want to talk about that it is a forward jaw position, but certainly as I've been progressing through these Maggio lessons, making sure that when I'm playing. Is really what I'm trying to maintain. And this seems to really, really help the tongue achieve its position in terms of where it is in the mouth, the jaw being in the right position, helps the tongue be where it should be for this type scenario so that the air is moving at the right speed. It's not about blowing hard, remember. It's about focusing the air and being able to control it. And what I notice is that this area down here is actually getting worked quite a bit when this jaw is in the correct position and the embouchure is in that nice forward position, and you can really start to feel everything in here starting to come together. So what we're going to do is we are going to progress through. I'm going to dip in and out through some of the other sections. More notably where our syllable changes. Now we're already into the T position at the top. So we're doing from our pedal C, and then obviously when we start to there on the F sharp, that's still ta. And then when we're moving up, we're going into the E up here. So the next transition is going to be from the E into the sh position. But obviously as we move up chromatically, we're still going to be employing ta, te, t, and then tsh. So I'll do a little set. We'll go from here. We might just even go all the way up to the C and then just have a wee break there and talk about what happens in the upper register. Okay, so this is the next section from our pedal C motif and our G arpeggio. Yep, definitely do that one again. Okay, so that's us transitioned all the way up now to our type syllable from the B flat upwards. Yes. And really, by now, we're stitching together all the syllables. Certainly, from now onwards, the upper part is all up. And this is where the kind of fine tuning really, really starts to come. Making sure we're not blowing too hard. this area here is not the area that I spend most time on, because you've already heard that some of it isn't as clean as it could be, and that's just the way it is. You know, it's like I try and make these exercises for myself, not just for you guys out in YouTube land, as clean as possible, because that's what I want to happen when I'm on the gig, you know? So if I can get as clean as possible on here, then there's a better chance of being nice and clean and accurate on the gigs. And flexibilities has always been one of my weakest areas, so I've spent a lot of time working on it. So hopefully it's a little bit stronger now. But trying to make sure that we try and sing through all these registers here, and that's one of the things about not blowing too hard and trying to hammer these notes out. It's quite a tricky thing to do. What we may do is like, once I start getting towards where it's becoming a little bit of a challenge, so not feeling super strong just now, maybe from like an E or an F or the F sharp upwards, etc. I'm not saying we should switch the metronome off, but trying to take the time to practice how the notes come out and how they feel, so that when we put the metronome on, it's the exact same thing as playing at a slower tempo and then speeding it up with the metronome. Prior to getting to the metronome, if there's a particular phrase in a chart I have to work through, picking out the notes, making sure the intervals are all there, be it a melody line or just a section line or whatever, you know, sometimes we need to do that out of time. And I think that's entirely applicable within these charts as well. Obviously, we want to get to a scenario where we can just really call on our ability at any tempo. That is the ultimate goal, I suppose. So let's crack on. We are now on to our 2-octave C arpeggio. Obviously still with the pedal C motif. And I think what we should do here is just talk about where the break is. So not in terms of like the break in the range. We stop at G, top G for a rest. So we'll try and push all the way through to there. If it's not going to happen, I'm not going to push it. I'm not going to force it. We'll come back in and then we'll have a look at what is beyond and after that break. Okie dokie. So here we go. Fingers crossed. Hopefully a nice G 2-octave arpeggio. Okay? Let that go. Almost got a clean one right. So let's try that one more time. Still at 65 beats per minute. I'll take that. Okay, so kind of got a clear pass there on the way up to the G. I know there's a couple of wee missed pitches and things in there, and I'm very well aware of that. Please don't give me a dislike in the comments for it. I'm trying to get through this as cleanly as possible. If only you knew how many times I've gone through this type of stuff, going, oh god, I need to redo that. I need to redo that. Oh, I've not done the right record button, etc. Like I said, getting used to this new software. Anyway, excuses aside, so I've got to talk for, or this is where a 5 minute rest actually kind of happens. Now, funnily enough, it's like that going up to the G, okay? 9 times out of 10, that's as high as we would have to play. But if you're talking about a top G security, then yeah, I suppose you do want to kind of work and push higher than that because in the Maggio content itself, it talks about like your highest note being maybe like a third above your actual usable range. So it's like if you want to have a top D all night in like pop charts, etc., then you kind of want to make sure you've got at least an F and an F sharp as your highest range so that you can make sure that that's there all night. And it's not just about like screaming loud trumpet notes or anything like that. It's about a nice like a nice security of range throughout the whole instrument. I think that's the thing that I really, really like about Maggio is it addresses the full range within the whole concept. And there's a whole bunch of studies, etc., out there, and you mix all. We should mix all type of things together to get that full practiced range, and not forgetting playing tunes and improvising and trying out all manner of different things to make sure that we're a good all round musician. Not just a jazz or a screamer or a classical player, whatever. It doesn't really matter. We should have full access to a good usable range, especially nowadays when there are gigs and there's only one of us on the gig and we've got to do everything from light jazz work and combo work to like Earth, Wind and Fire horn section type stuff to reduce big band things where they don't reduce down the range of the trumpet. It's all relevant, okay? So I suppose what I was saying there is like sometimes when you get to that part where I was, and I'm feeling this, okay? I've done a little bit of work earlier on today, but I am very, very aware of what's going on. The second time that I had that second go at the G arpeggio, etc., I consciously just thought, but just turning it down ever so slightly. I knew that if I didn't put enough through in terms of support from down here, the camera angle was not quite great, but I am breathing and supporting down here for everything that I take in. Obviously, a low support is way different to a high support, and everything that comes from here is driving that support. So, just not enough would either mean that I squeeze or press to try and get the top note out. Yes, we do press. and sometimes pinch our lips together, which we don't want to do. Ultimately, all that's going to do is shut off the sound and make us go out of tune, and that's not what we want. So just trying to think about where is that balance between how much blow we have to put into our chops to get the sound to come out of the instrument, to like the appropriate amount of pressure that we need to use to create the seal, to blow against, etc. And that's, I think that's a good thing about having the metronome there, because it really helps us think about it in a musical sense. But then if that wasn't going to happen, fully prepared to turn the metronome down to 64, 63, 62, 61, metronome off, and work through each one of those registers as is applicable. And that's probably what I'll do the next time through. Now, when we go into the next phase after this 5 minute little break that we're on, we start off an octave below where our top note is. So we start off in A flat now. So we start off on the A flat in the first ledger line, and we ascend up to our double A flat, and then we'll descend all the way back down to the bottom A flat below middle C. That gives us a 3 octave descend and run all the way down. And pretty much that's it. Now, I do try and do this with the metronome. It doesn't always work as well as the previous section, but I'll certainly have a go. And when it's not obviously going to happen, switch the metronome off. Maybe we'll try turning it down this time, gradually down, to see where I can get it to happen. But I'll know pretty much quite early on if I'm not going to be able to do the rest of this study in time with the metronome. So here we go. I'm not sure if that's 5 minutes or not. I know I can talk for quite a bit. So this is the last part of Maggio 7 Flexibilities. 1 octave ascending, 3 octaves descending. I think it's 3 octaves descending. I can't remember. My tablet's run out of power as well. Regardless, when we come back down, we want to try and stay in control so that it's not just about hitting the high note. We want every note on these descending arpeggios to be nice and secured and locked in. Okay, right, here we go. Second octave. Second attempt again. It was there. Okay. Second attempt again. Oh, right in the edge. Okay, crap editing there while I switch the mics around. So, I pretty much know that's not going to happen out in time now. Right, what I'm going to do is going to go back to B flat because that I wasn't entirely sure about that. Put the metronome down a little bit slower. We'll put it down to 60. Okay. Okay, wee bit of editing coming up back there. So, yeah, pitching your starting note is obviously quite important, and trying to focus on where you are. Using the pedal C for reference should be enough, but sometimes going from even that wasn't clean, that should be enough. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the next three, which is really from a B flat, out of time, and try and take as much time over them as possible. I'll probably stand a little bit close to the camera as well, just so we can check embouchure. That's for me as much as anything else. Quite curious as to see what this looks like. And yeah, so here we go. This will be B flat, hopefully out of time and maybe beyond. Okay. I think that was a B flat. Not sure. Try again. Okay, so that was a little journey through Maggio 7. I think I said at the start of this advanced series that things do get quite a bit harder quite quickly. And I think a lot of that comes down to your interpretation of what harder means, or what more difficult is. In terms of being able to play arpeggios and move around the trumpet quite fluently without the tongue and basically through intervals. I think that's one of the hardest things to do on trumpet. Playing nice clean notes, difficult. Nice clean scales, difficult. But when we are pitching through the instrument in general through flexibilities, be it Collins, be it Schlossberg, Arbin, Stamp, whatever it is that you're working on, flexibilities are pretty tricky. And I think when we move them into the Maggio realm as well, where we're accessing the pedal register and we're really trying to reinforce that pedal embouchure, then it can put us out of our comfort zone quite quickly. I used to have, and I suppose technically still do have, a little bit of an issue, or had more of an issue, less so now, descending from the upper register. So essentially, I had a low set and a high set. I didn't change my embouchure. I just used to, when I got into the upper register, be quite firm and set. And so when I came down into the lower register, I would still have that quite firm and set position. And it wasn't until I started getting into the likes of the Collins lip flexibilities that I really found out quite quickly that that did not work. So Maggio kind of reinforces that. Again, for me, with the protective forward embouchure setup, it really helps me have a nice strong embouchure, and it helps me also retain a degree of flexibility, because learning and utilising the tongue syllables throughout the range and register where we know they are, and referencing the pedal embouchure, certainly from the F sharp upwards all the way through to where we are just now, I feel is very important. When we come to the end of this series, I'm going to kind of do an epilogue on my thoughts in general about all of the Maggio series, and essentially how I will be progressing from Maggio and what else I intend to do. But for now, that's it. So I'm going to have some fun editing this new version of recording. Going to have a listen back to it and see if it works. Having to switch between mics and things like that, it's okay, but it's a little bit more time consuming. But at the same time, everything is recorded at the same time. So what would be great is pop a wee comment, tell me if you like this new format, and I'm hoping that once it goes through my Movavi or my video editor, whatever one that will be, you won't really notice much of a difference. Okay, guys and gals, and whoever else is watching out there, from wherever else, I hope you really enjoyed this. 8, 9 and 10 are something else entirely, but now that the studio is reset and I'm ready to go, fingers crossed I'll be able to get the rest of this content uploaded, because there's so many other things that I want to get involved in, and I want to share with you about trumpet playing and music making in general. Okay, so that's it for now. That was Maggio Lesson 7, Flexibilities. And as always, the information for my PayPal me link is on the page and will be in the link to this video. Please like and share the video and the channel if you think anyone can benefit from this. It is free and it will always be free. But like I said, I just invested in a new computer, extra things for the room so that it looks as nice as possible. It doesn't have to be massive, high-end, all crazy production and stuff, but I would like it to be at least approachable and easy to watch. And other than that, stay safe and stay smart, and hopefully very soon we'll get to see some of each other on gigs and play together for real and just enjoy music with everyone else as it should be. Okay folks, thanks, bye bye.